Uh, I'm now going to be looking at, after having discussed the basic framework of strategic management process and also looking at how we define strategy and policies that we've looked at and the various schools of thought, and also looking at the Mintzberg 5 Ps, which is the plan, ploy, pattern, position, and perspective. I now move on to the next stage, whereby I would now like to look at that before a business policy or before a strategic management, before companies focus and emphasize and get deeper insights into these understandings, how do we classify and differentiate between the three? The three are mission, vision, and objectives. How do we differentiate between mission, vision, objectives? Now, as a simple statement, I would like to say that worldwide, most businesses worldwide are organized in such a manner that the mission vision involves stakeholders. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, whether you look at McDonald's or whether you look at Tata Group or you look at Reliance Group, the basic objective is that all mission and vision statements involve some degree of association and attachment with the stakeholders. Now, when I talk about stakeholders, I mean the following. Your employees are also part of your stakeholders. Your customers are also part of your stakeholders. Your shareholders are a very important component of your stakeholders. Now, any mission vision statement which normally comes out, you are addressing the three stakeholders, at least the three stakeholders. For example, if a mission vision statement looks like this, a mission vision statement, for example, says, to become an admired company producing high quality products using state of the art technology and distributing products at competitive prices and delighting customers Now, please see what this mission or vision statement means. To be an admired company. Maybe you don't become the biggest company in the world, but you're a company which is big enough to be admired. Producing high quality products, using state-of-the-art technology, delighting customers, and rewarding shareholders. So all the points that I've mentioned as an example, I'm not quoting anyone here, but the vision mission statement says, an admired company producing high quality products because you use one of the state-of-the-art technology, which makes it a brand, and delighting customers and rewarding shareholders. Well, this is just a sample example I've taken. So a mission statement could look at this. Now suppose you're an education institute, one of your mission is to be a center of excellence. Now we can use this as one of the mission to become a center of excellence, where we mean excellent in terms of quality academics, students, placements, so that students get reputed jobs worldwide. I mean, these are all examples of mission. So these for an education institute we have, it's called the Center of Excellence. Now the best way to understand a mission and vision examples is to read some mission and vision statements of renowned companies. What are they saying? What is part of the mission or vision statement which involves employees? What is it part of the mission vision which makes customers delighted? And also, what is part of the mission vision which rewards the shareholders? So employees remain proud to be associated with the company, customers are proud to buy their products, shareholders are proud to remain as an important stakeholder. So with these things in mind, this is how a typical mission vision statement would look like. Now it is extremely important, ladies and gentlemen, that we first know what is a mission and vision. How do you distinguish between the two? The fact is that a mission statement means it basically outlines the purpose of existence of the firm. I repeat, the mission statement basically elaborates on why do I exist. A mission statement is also what I call a dream reality. It is a dream to be something, but it's a dream reality. The purpose of existence, why you exist, your dream reality, and ultimately, where do you see your company being recognized as, your firm, the status? What is your mission? Your mission could be, I exist because of the fact I'm here to provide the most environmentally friendly products which will, enable me to differentiate myself as regards most of my competitors. For example, if you look at the airlines industry, I'm sure Indigo Airlines or some of these airlines, they say, make travel fantastically comfortable for passengers, give them the facilities at the most competitive rates, maintain your punctuality, maintain your status, build your brand, and become a reliable supplier of the product. That's an important part of your mission. You become an admired seller. You become a reliable seller. You're a firm which is trusted, reliable. So mission statements involves this: trust, reliability. One is trust, second is reliability, third is admirability. You're an admired company. So all these are important aspects of mission. The mission can also say products which are environmentally friendly. All these phrases are used in a mission statement. It basically outlines the purpose and the objective of existence of the firm. The firm exists because it has certain obligations and rights towards societies, employees, and shareholders. This is what the purpose of existence, the mission is. Where do you really would like to be recognized as part of your employees, customers, and shareholders? On the other hand, I've come across many vision statements. For example, there's a famous example of this is the Tata Steel Vision 2012. Now this is a vision statement, which means it's a statement which clearly spells out where does Tata Steel want to be in the next. Suppose it was in the year 2000 and this vision statement was published in the year 2000. It basically says, where do you foresee Tata Steel heading towards by the year 2012? A small example of this is, I worked in two other organizations and we prepared these vision documents. One was with the IDC Group and one was, of course, with the Tata Group, where I had some association for a brief stint on a project. In IDC Group, I worked for a substantial period of time, and we developed a Vision 2000. Those days, I was in 1990s, and they developed their vision document for the year 2000. And the vision statement clearly indicated, where do you see ITC in various businesses by the year 2000, which was then a very popular phrase used then, was the term called millennium. It's called the millennium vision. Where do you see the firm heading towards in terms of millennium? So by the year 2000, Tata Steel, what is the vision of the organization? Where does it foresee itself? In other words, vision highlights what is it that you want to achieve, or rather accomplish in the next, say, 10 years. Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years? These are vision perspectives. What do you want to achieve in the next 10 years? What do you want to accomplish in the next 10 years or 12 years? Normally, vision statements have a specific period, whereas mission is a general statement outlining your purpose and goal and objective of existence, why you exist, how you should be recognized as. Whereas a vision statement, yes, how you would like to be recognized as, but where do you see yourself in the next 10 or 12 years? Now, for organizations, it always looks at where do you want to achieve. Now, this is where you break up your business functions. In other words, in marketing, you would like to say that by year 2000, IDC would have 20% of the personal care market, or it would capture 25% of the soaps and detergents market by the year 2010 through the following product launches. So that's a vision statement, a part of a vision statement. Again, mind you, vision statements can also be very long, but vision statements also involve the stakeholders. Vision also involves the stakeholders, the employees, the customers, and the shareholders. A vision statement. Vision also says achieving something for the benefit of employees, for the benefit of customers, for the benefit of shareholders. So vision is an immediate goal which you can foresee some time ahead. You're able to understand and assess where you're heading towards in the next 10, 12, 15 years, something, some milestones. Now, this is what I would like to keep in mind. I would like to explain this ultimate thing here after mission, which is the purpose of existence. Vision says where you foresee yourself in the next 10 or 12 years. This is just an example. What will be your achievements mainly by then? Now, in terms of business, we can look at market share. In terms of business, it could be new ventures. It also looks at turnover targets and profit targets. And of course, customer satisfaction targets. We look at market share, we look at new ventures, we look at turnover, we look at profits, we look at customer satisfaction targets. All these are highlighted in the vision statement. So mission, vision, and from there we move on to objectives. From mission, vision, we move on to the next point, which is objectives. Now, why do people talk about that companies must understand the vision, mission, objectives? Now, very clearly, I would like to say one thing here. And the next is, in the mission, vision, objectives, the next step is, in objectives, goals or purpose. In other words, what is it that you want to achieve? So now the logic is, objectives, if you fulfill, it enables you to achieve the mission or vision. You achieve your mission vision with the starting point being the objectives. Now, objectives type, I would like to list a few things here. One is called common shared objectives. Next is long-term versus short-term objectives. And the next is objectives should be smart. Now, there's a slight distinction. Sometimes goals could be very specific, where you can measure them, but objectives could be broad-based. But the fact is, smart. Now, what do we mean by the word smart? Ladies and gentlemen, all of you must know this well, that we must define objectives to be smart. By smart, I mean simple. M stands for measurable. A stands for actionable. R stands for realistic, and T stands for being time bound. So this is what I call the SMART objectives. Let's go one by one as to what we mean by this. What we are saying is simple, measurable, actionable, realistic, time bound. Now this is how I define objectives. What do we mean by SMART objectives? S stands for simple. Simple means let's not define objectives being very complex. Because if objective is very complex, it's not understood, you may not achieve what you want to do. So make it somewhat simple to be understandable. People must understand. Comprehend. In other words, the objective is simple enough and it can be understood. What are you trying to achieve? What is your objective? The next is measurable. Now this we need to measure. Because if something is not measurable, how will you conclude to what extent you've achieved your targets? For example, measurable is, suppose I give an example, I want to have 20% market share. Now the thing is, we must know what the market size is. And 20% market share means we are trying to measure as to whether we were able to leverage or capture or seize 20% of the overall market share. That's one of your objectives. And we need to measure it. What have you achieved? The next quality of objective is actionable, which means achievable. In other words, here we define any objective that we put down, it must be some achievable target. Sometimes we go majorly wrong. Any unrealistic, any sort of stretched and very overambitious targets are not achievable. So we need to look at a fact that it is actionable. It is possible to implement plans to achieve it. It is achievable, provided certain things happen, of course. But the fact is, it is considered to be achievable. And R is what I call realistic. Now, realistic targets are very important. Let's not give over-ambitious targets, neither underperforming targets. It should be optimal, realistic. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes the targets and some of the objectives that we have are far more far-fetched than what we normally feel. And this is where the cookie crumbles. That's where the ice breaks. Or that's where the entire attachment goes for a song. The logic is, if it is not a realistic assumption-based objective, we'll not be able to achieve it, and you'll always find the measures show you're underperforming. So it should be stretched, fair enough. Targets can be a little bit stretched, but it has to be realistic, something which is achievable. And very importantly, ladies and gentlemen, time-bound. We must achieve it within a certain time frame. Because if objectives are not fulfilled within certain time frames, then the entire purpose gets defeated. There's absolutely no point in that case. So this is what I call the word SMART, which is simple, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. Now, an example of this is, I would like to say that I would like to cover 20% market share of the auto steel industry within the next 3 years, and to have a 10% profit margin. This is one of my long-term objectives. In the next 3 years, I need to make 20% market share in the auto steel segment. If I'm say in Tata Steel, yeah, the automotive steel segment is a different steel segment. So in that segment, in 3 years, I want to capture 20% market share and have 10% profit margin in the next 3 years. Very much measurable. Now we need to know, is it achievable or realistic? If it is, it certainly is a meaningful objective. So sometimes we go into irrational objective or meaningful objective, rational objective, something which is rational, which makes sense, it can be measured, it's simple, understandable, it's achievable, it's realistic, and it's time-bound, within a time frame. Objective, that's where again you must understand, I need to have 20% market share, but by when? By tomorrow, or within the next 2 years, or the next 5 years? What is it? And for doing that, what all we need? This is where we come to our subject, policy and strategy. We will only achieve our objectives and our targets based on the strategy roadmap that we've laid down, the policy framework of our organization. Your strategy will make you achieve your objectives. And those strategies are not just to be designed, but they must be implemented and executed in a phased manner so that the success is achieved. Now, this is what I mean by the word achievable, measurable. And this is where strategy plays a role. Strategy, as I said, is a broad set of action plans with a course of direction which cuts across different business functions. It puts up a complete roadmap for the organization as to how the objectives would be fulfilled. The logic here is the objective must get fulfilled. And this is what I call the word common shared objective. Now, let me tell you, in business today, the CSO is terrifically important. When I was part of the strategy planning team, and I worked for a big petrochemicals company and a chemicals company, the first thing before we took up the meeting of the board of directors, the marketing department, we made one thing very clear: common shared objective. All promoters, directors have to be in sync that the objective of what we are doing is common shared. Common shared means accepted and agreeable mutually. Common shared means it's an objective which is shared and commonly accepted. In other words, it is a strategy which is accepted by all, approved by all, mutual. Common shared objective. It's a common objective which is shared with people, everyone accepts. Otherwise, for example, if the finance director says, I can do with losses for 3 years, that's how he feels. Or the marketing director says, I must have 20% market share by hook or crook. I don't know why. And that's where the objectives differ. You must know what you're doing with what objective. Now, I'm not saying everyone has to think absolutely alike. I'm not saying that there's a major conflict, but there's a bit of a divergence of views. I'm not saying that conflict will erupt. But the fact is there's a discrepancy, or rather some divergence of views. It clearly illustrates that with this divergence of views, it is a very, very important thing which people must understand is that the common shared objective is the objective which is commonly accepted by everyone. And if it's not, then the implementation questions come strongly into power. And lastly, what we mean by long-term and short-term. But a long-term is part of your strategy, the long-term goals. And short-term is immediate. Like, I'll give you an example. If 3 months are going to be very tough, my short-term objectives are different. I need to get the best at any price, at any strategy with discounts. That could be my short-term objective. Another short-term objective is some immediate goals or immediate targets or tasks which you want to accomplish. Those are short-term. Short-term survival, short-term growth. For example, if you 3 to 4 months the market is going to be very tight, you charge a high price and skim the market. That's a short-term objective. So short-term is to leverage on the market and to do your level best. That's a short-term objective. Whereas a long-term objective normally refers to something with a vision that you have for the longer-term time frame. You have an objective which is for a long term. What do you want to achieve in the longer term? Phased manner. How do you schedule your activities? How do you plan your staff? All this is part of your long-term objective and goal. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have clearly indicated and highlighted to you under the strategic management process the phase 1, which is the mission and the vision and the objectives. As I told you, the mission relates to long-term or a dream reality or the purpose of existence of a firm. Why do you exist? How are you visualized with the outside world? What are your duties and responsibilities and obligations to your stakeholders? What do you imply for customers? What do you mean for your employees? What do you represent for your shareholders? And to some extent, your suppliers. Whereas when you come to a vision, normally vision statements have a target time frame. I've seen vision statements with time frame. I'm not saying that's the Bible, the truth, what I'm saying. But I've seen vision statements with time frames. You specify in the next, say, 10 years or 12 years, a particular time frame. So vision for organizations now, they can say Vision 2020. Where do you see yourself in the Vision 2020? And then the vision, you outline exactly where you're heading towards, what are your accomplishments that you want to achieve by the year 2020. Like, for example, it's come up that by year 2040, the BRIC countries will be within the top 5 in the world: the Brazil, Russia, India, and China. That's your milestone. In other words, you want to head towards the direction of becoming the 5 largest economies by the year 2050. So that is your mission. Then comes your vision, and then is your objectives. Now, objectives help you to traverse to your scenario of vision and mission. Objectives are, as I said, 3 attributes. One is long-term, which is how you plan for the long term. One is short-term, which is seizing opportunities for the short term or surviving for the short term or exploiting the market for a short term. Those are short-term goals. And SMART. Simple, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. Now, these are the important attributes which everyone must keep in mind. And then common shared objectives. Ladies and gentlemen, we must be all very clear. If objectives which are common are not shared and not accepted and not uniform for all, there's a chance of conflict and you will never be able to achieve your targets or fulfill your objectives in a longer term time frame. That's where I give this term called common shared objective. I was part of the strategy team and we all decided firstly whether you agree. If yes, we move on. Otherwise, make your changes, make sure we uniformly agree, put up a strategy roadmap, document, and start implementing it as per your people and your budgets and your products. All right, that's for this session, which talks about mission, vision, and objectives. Thank you very much.